Episode 5 picks up right at the end of episode 4 with Walker trying to deal with what he just did. He ends up running to an abandoned building, and Bucky and Sam are chasing after him. And they eventually catch up to him where Walker tries to plead his case, saying that he had to do what he did because that guy killed Lamar. But Bucky and Sam both know that that's not true. Sam, having experience with this sort of thing, tries to talk him down, saying that if he turns himself in, they might take leniency on him because of his extremely impressive track record. But then Sam asks for the shield, and Walker takes that as, oh, this is what this is all about. You want me to give the shield up and give it back to you? And a fight ensues. During the fight, Bucky's arm gets damaged, and Walker ends up tearing Sam's wings off of him. Walker gets Sam in mount, ready to do the same thing to Sam that he did to the Flag Smasher, bludgeon him with the shield. But that's when Bucky jumps in, tackles Walker, and Bucky and Sam are able to work together to get the shield away from him. Walker is then arrested and extradited back to America. And afterwards, Sam meets up with Torres, where Torres lets him know that what went down with Walker made international news. You got Captain America killing a foreign national. On top of that, Carly is all but gone. She's a virtual ghost. Torres is going to keep trying to find her, but the issue is Carly has so many people around the world working with her to keep her low profile. So they're fighting an uphill battle. Bucky, meanwhile, went to go try to find Zemo, and he locates him at the Sokovia Memorial. And Zemo tells Bucky that Carly has been radicalized and there's no hope of ever getting her back. He tried to tell Sam this, but Sam didn't listen. And he's telling Bucky because Bucky is literally trained to kill. So he's hoping that Bucky will do what's, quote, right, track Carly down and murder her. But Bucky has no interest in that whatsoever, and that's when Zemo notices that Bucky is holding a gun. Bucky points the gun at Zemo, pulls the trigger, but he's just screwing with him because he took all the bullets out. It's not like Zemo's going to get away scot-free, however, because the Wakandans are standing right behind him, ready to take him back to Wakanda to answer for what he did. Ayo lets Bucky know that Zemo will live out his days in a prison in Wakanda, and it's also smart if Bucky doesn't show his face in the country for a while. But as Ayo is walking back to her ship, Bucky asks for one last favor, and it's something for Sam. Now, as I said, Walker gets extradited back to the States where he went from hero to villain real fast. That video went worldwide. And as he's standing in front of a tribunal of senators and military figures, he gets fired, told he will no longer act in any authority as a member of the United States military or Captain America. He tries to plead his case, saying that they don't understand what he was going through, but they say, oh no, we're fully aware. We didn't make this decision lightly. We saw the video. And that enrages Walker. He yells at them, I dedicated my life to your mandates. I only ever did what you asked of me and what you told me, and I did it well. This little outburst, though, doesn't earn him any points. He gets told by the same senator who hired him that he will be given an other than honorable discharge. This is going to cost him his rank, but also cost him his benefits. And as Walker is standing there trying to process what he was just told, he mutters out, you built me. I am Captain America. But the senator says, not anymore, you're not. Walker just turns around and walks out as the senator is continuing to talk to him, telling him how he's actually lucky because of the fact that they took some leniency on him, just like Sam predicted. But he goes outside and he's sitting down on a bench getting comforted by his wife when he's approached by a woman named Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. One hell of a name. And she comes in with so much confidence and bravado, acting as if they're supposed to know who she is. And maybe they should, because she knows everything about them. She knows he took the serum. She knows that he doesn't have the shield, which is something that the council wants back. And she takes Walker's side with everything that happened. She tells him that by taking the serum, it's made him very valuable to certain people. It's the second best choice he's ever made in his life. The first being when he picks up the phone when she calls him. Right before she leaves, she lets him know that the shield, it doesn't actually belong to the government. It's a legal gray area. She tells him she'll be in touch, and as soon as she showed up, she's gone, leaving both Walker and his wife very confused. Sam also headed back to the States, but he didn't head back to Louisiana or Washington. He headed to Baltimore to meet with Isaiah. He brings the shield with him, but Isaiah has no interest in looking at it. But Sam hasn't come to try to sell him on a shield. He's come to try to figure out what went wrong. Why is Isaiah so bitter? And Isaiah says he used to be just like Sam. He would see the Red Tails, and they were like heroes to him. They would fight for the country, but when they came home, they were vilified. Because the fact is, the entire world's been chasing the great white hope that was Steve Rogers ever since he was injected with that serum. And Sam sticks up for his friend, saying Steve didn't put you in jail. They head inside and Isaiah opens up a box with a bunch of pictures of Isaiah as a younger guy with a woman who you believe is his wife, and Isaiah tells Sam that she died while he was in jail. The government never let a single one of her letters get to Isaiah. In fact, they went so far as to tell her that he was dead. So that was part of it. The other part was the fact that Isaiah was a handful of guys who got shot up with the serum, but the others weren't as stable as Isaiah was. A couple of them died off, but a couple of them got captured on a mission, and the government was ready to bomb the POW camp just so the secret died, but Isaiah wasn't willing to let that happen. In the middle of the night, he snuck out and saved them. But instead of getting commended for this, he got arrested and experimented on by the government to try to figure out why the serum took with him, but not with the others. Isaiah was only saved when a nurse took pity on him, wrote up some reports that he actually died, gave him the box full of letters, and sent him on his way. So as far as the government's concerned, he's actually dead. And this betrayal by his country, the fact that he wasn't able to say goodbye to the woman he loved, has made Isaiah bitter to this day. And Sam wants to do something. He wants to help, but Isaiah says, no, leave me dead. He's convinced that if he were to be, quote, brought back, he'd be dead within a day. He tells Sam that they will never let a black man be Captain America. And even if they did, no self-respecting black man would want to be. So now with at least some insight on what Isaiah went through, Sam decides to head back to Louisiana and meet up with his sister. And upon arrival, he finds out his sister is unable to sell the family boat. She tried, and she was told it's basically worthless. But the weird thing about their neighborhood is a lot of people are too proud to ask for help. And Sam's parents were always there to help out the neighborhood. So Sam figures it's time to call in some favors. And he does that. And really everybody shows out for the family because they were so well liked, willing to help out and fix up the family boat. And that actually includes Bucky. Okay, Bucky didn't show up just to help. He showed up with that favor he called in from Wakanda, which is in this huge box. The next day, Sam and Bucky start training with the Shield. Bucky decides to take this moment to apologize for blaming Sam for Walker and giving up the Shield. He admits that the Shield is the closest thing he has to a family. So when Sam retired it, it just made Bucky feel like he had nothing left. Sam tells him, I understand what you're saying, but Steve is gone, and it doesn't really matter what Steve thought. You gotta stop looking for other people to tell you who you are. He asks Bucky, are you still having those nightmares? And Bucky says, yeah, all the time. Which means the part of the Winter Soldier is still inside of me. And Sam tells him, if you want to climb out of the hell that you're in, do the work. You weren't amending, you were avenging. And it's all because you thought it would bring you closure, but it didn't. I'm sure there's one person in that book that you have that needs closure about something. And you're the only person who can give it to him. And Bucky admits, yeah, there's probably a lot of them. And Sam tells him, just start with one. Bucky then tells Sam to call him if he gets a lead on Carly, and then he heads off. He then sits down with Sarah, who tells him that she can't sell the boat. It just means too much. But then they address the elephant in the room, Isaiah Bradley. She says, are you really going to let Isaiah Bradley dictate who you're going to become? And Sam says, if I was him, I'd probably feel the exact same way. But what would be the point of all that pain and sacrifice if I wasn't willing to stand up and keep fighting? Cue training montage. Starts off, Sam's having trouble catching the Shield. Within about 47 seconds, Sam can catch the Shield. But while Sam was training, Carly was on her way to New York City. She's there because the GRC are meeting. She doesn't want to let that meeting take place. And her second command asks, what are we doing here? And she says, well, I got some help to even the odds out. And that's when Batroc shows up. Because Batroc was freed from that Algerian prison by Sharon, who tells him, I have another job for you, and you're going to want to take it, and I'll pay you double. And that job is to deliver some explosives to Carly. The story he's going with, though, is he wants payback on the Green Falcon. It's a win-win for both sides. Carly gets revenge. This guy's going to get payback. Friends helping friends. And Carly then puts out a ping where a bunch of people in the park receive it on their phone, signifying how much support they really have. But Batroc says, I'm not here to be a part of your movement. I'm only here to kill the Falcon. And Carly promises you will get your chance. But first, the GRC meeting. They're meeting because of something called the Patch Act, which would move 20,000 refugees back to the country they came from. And inside the GRC meeting, the same senator who hired John Walker and fired John Walker wants to just round them up like criminals, sending them back where they came from. He doesn't even want to get to a vote. But unbeknownst to them, some of the security there are flag smashers. And all of a sudden the lights go out and the screens start flickering and nobody knows what's going on. This is something, though, that Torres had seen coming. He noticed that right before the flag smashers hit, pings go off. And they recently got a ping in New York City. So this could help them figure out Carly's next move. Sam then decides it would be a good time to open up that box that Bucky brought him when he called in that favor from Wakanda. And he opens it up, but we don't see what's inside of it. And finally, Walker decided to go pay a visit to Lamar's family, telling him that he did what he needed to do, and if they ever need anything, he'll be there. But he's not willing to give up the shield just yet. And just like Iron Man, he goes into a workshop and basically creates his own Captain America shield. Like a dude going to Comic-Con. It's quite adorable. Thanks for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you don't. Be nice in the comments section. Nasty comments hurt my feelings. I work hard on these. If I make a mistake, it happens. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, it'll be up soon. Sharing is caring. Put it on your MySpace page or your away message. And check out my podcast, Scene Invaders, wherever you listen to podcasts.